stopped to assist a millionaire in need. The amazing revelation that changed everything forever. Rain pelted the ground in a relentless downpour, mirroring Amy Rivers' turmoil as she poured soup into bowls at the town's soup kitchen. Each splash echoed her struggles juggling bills, managing her daughter's fiery spirit, and embracing the heavy weight of responsibility. Closing her eyes for a brief moment, she felt an ache deep within her, the exhaustion pulling at her bones. Was it selfish to want something more for herself, something beyond the suffocating monotony of her daily grind? Just then, a commotion broke her reverie. A disheveled man stumbled and collapsed just a few feet away, the intensity of his fall sharp against the otherwise comforting chatter. "Someone help," she called instinctively, adrenaline surging. As she knelt beside him, cradling his head gently, assumptions churned in her mind. This nameless figure, was he just another entitled man too used to comfort, too proud to ask for help? Or was he something more complicated? A facet of life that she rarely encountered in her relentless routine? Fate had thrown her into his chaotic world, a millionaire rendered hopeless. She felt a rush of resentment. It was hard not to see him as a symbol of everything she judiciously avoided. He looked worn and defeated, his clothes tattered, a stark contrast to the effortless elegance she imagined radiated from his past. Her compassion wrestled with contempt, a tension spiraling within like a spring ready to snap. She recalled the way her own life had transformed since becoming a single mother, how her dreams had frayed into shadows. She was tired of people like him, too wrapped up in their privilege. Before they could exchange names, before she could truly see him, Richard Caldwell's irate eyes met hers. "Do you even understand?" His voice rasped, anger erupting in palpable waves. Did he think she was some naive woman who knew nothing of struggle? Deep down, she understood the bitter truth beneath their worlds lay shared pain, but her moral fortitude deflected the complex reality. Richard's anger ignited her defenses. She was old enough to know better. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As their conversation unfolded, something inside her shifted. He spoke of passion for art, a world where he once thrived. In that moment, she wanted to peel away the layers of resentment and see who this man really was, but each shared sentence felt like an admission of vulnerability. Could she let herself be seen too? Discontent brewed in her thoughts. Was it weak to feel drawn toward someone who seemed to encapsulate everything she had fought against? When she returned home that night, Lily's silence spoke volumes. Her daughter was perceptive. The air crackled with unvoiced worry about her mother's emotional distance. As Amy sorted through boxes of her late father's belongings, she stumbled upon photographs, faces she recognized among her father's circle, with Richard's distinct features standing out. Adrenaline coursed through her. How could this man from the soup kitchen be tied to her father? This revelation thrust her into a wild turmoil, igniting feelings of anger and betrayal she hadn't confronted until now. The night closed in heavy around her, pressing down. Her world spiraled like storm clouds gathering for a tempest, questions swirling relentlessly. Could her conflicting feelings about Richard be a chance for redemption, or merely a pit of despair waiting to trap her? The connection she felt was undeniable, yet every shared moment in the soup kitchen, and between the nervous glances, set her heart in a tumultuous race. Her past clawed at her as she struggled to decipher if she could embrace Richard, or if letting him in would mean confronting an overwhelming legacy she never wanted. Outside, thunder rumbled ominously, echoing her internal chaos. She had to choose. Would she continue her safe, suffocating normalcy, or peel back the layers to claim the future waiting beyond the storm? Each decision loomed like a shadow, paralyzing her heart, uncertainty threatening to swallow her whole. Morning light streamed through the curtains, casting soft patterns on the floor as Amy stirred awake. The remnants of last night's emotional tidal wave lingered, a persistent weight that dulled her senses. With a deep breath, she pushed the lingering darkness aside, determined to face the day. But the memory of Richard's voice, raw and unyielding, anchored itself in her thoughts. She made her way to the kitchen, where the aroma of fresh coffee filled the air. The routine of pouring her daughter's cereal offered a semblance of normality, a brief reprieve from the chaotic whirlwind that had become her life. Yet, as she watched Lily spooning cereal into her mouth, a gnawing curiosity tugged at her, the urge to explore what lay beneath Richard's exterior, to confront her own internal battles and insecurities. After breakfast, she took Lily to school. The familiar route felt different today, an undercurrent of anxiety coursing through each step. Everything around her pulsed with potential. What if Richard's story intertwined with her own? And what if it held answers to questions she couldn't yet articulate? The thought of stepping into the uncertain waters of his life sent shivers down her spine. Returning home, she flung open the box filled with her father's belongings. Sort through the remnants of a man she never fully understood, photos, letters, hints of a life intertwined with the world of art. Richard mentioned. Frenetic energy surged within her. Could her father have known him in a way that carved out a space for her own aspirations? Dim though they were? She uncovered a journal, its pages yellowed and delicate. The messy ink scrawled across the lines beckoned her, disconcerting intimate entries that spoke of aspirations, dreams shattered by the weight of obligation. Each passing word resonated, echoing her own struggle to balance ambition and reality. It was as if her father had left breadcrumbs leading her toward a consciousness she had closed off long ago. Compelled, she decided to reach out to Richard. The thought of contacting him startled her. After their heated exchange, would he even entertain a conversation? Would he reconcile the artist he once was with the broken man he had become? Did it matter? All she knew was that the undercurrent of their connection felt stronger than frustration, anchoring her to a semblance of hope. She nervously typed her message, fingers hovering over the keyboard as the magnitude of her decision seeped in. It felt reckless. She could back out, retreat to the safety of complacent routine. But something deeper urged her onwards, an innate drive to confront her past and challenge fears that enveloped her. She clicked send, a shaky exhale releasing the tension coiling in her chest. Almost instantly, the waiting began, a gnawing anticipation coupled with fear of rejection. Within minutes, her phone chimed with a response. "I'd like to talk. Meet me today at the gallery by the river." The words landed heavily, charged with a blend of dread and eagerness. A gallery. An echo of the life she'd shut away. Could she walk into that space, embrace Richard's world, and perhaps find what had long been missing in her own? As she dressed and prepared to leave, Amy felt the pulse of opportunity throbbing within her. This meeting could act as a pivot point, a moment that might redefine her goals and aspirations. The gallery's glass walls promised clarity, a place where she might finally confront the truth about her past and her own identity. With a resolve steeped in anxiety and courage, she stepped out, the world around her brightening with possibility. Today wouldn't just offer a glimpse into Richard's fractured life, it might also illuminate her own path forward. Just as she reached the gallery, a sudden thought gripped her. What if uncovering the truth behind Richard meant uncovering her father's secrets too? The air thickened with tension, setting the stage for a revelation that could upend everything she thought she knew. The gallery loomed before her, a stark contrast to the vibrant life outside. Its glass facade shimmered under the late morning sun, trapping her gaze as she hesitated at the entrance, an invisible weight anchoring her feet to the ground. Inside, the space felt expansive yet intimate, each piece of art a whisper revealing the souls of their creators. She suddenly felt as though she were an imposter, an unwelcome guest in a realm that once felt enticing but now seemed daunting. As she stepped inside, the soft echo of her footsteps bounced off the polished floors. Richard was already there, leaning against a wall adorned with provocative canvases that seemed to pulse with life and emotion. His presence communicated a complexity she hadn't expected. Vulnerability mingled with defiance, artistic passion cloaked in sorrow. He glanced at her, a flicker of surprise in his eyes before it settled into something more guarded. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice lacking the raw edge she had remembered. It was measured, a veil concealing the tumult below. "Thanks for agreeing to meet," Amy replied, attempting to mask her trepidation with a composed smile. The air around them thickened as they regarded each other, unspoken questions swirling in the charged silence. Richard gestured toward a nearby painting, an abstract swirl of dark blues and fiery reds. That one speaks to the chaos of existence, he observed, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of fury. Sometimes it feels like what I create is in direct conflict with what I feel. Her heart raced as she listened, sensing an opportunity to dive deeper into his world. You mentioned your relationship with art was a conflict itself. What do you mean by that? Richard's gaze sharpened, assessing her with an intensity that set her nerves aflame. Art was my escape, my voice. But as the years went on, I convinced myself it was a luxury I couldn't afford. His words struck a chord within her, resonating against the backdrop of her father's journal. What made you stop? She probed, diving into the personal territory she feared yet craved. Life happened. Responsibilities piled on, and dreams became memories. Richard's expression hardened. You can't chase visions when reality shackles you to mediocrity. Each revelation felt like a spark igniting long-dormant flames within her. She found herself confronting her own complacency, how she had allowed her aspirations to wither beneath her obligations. What if you could reclaim that voice? What if it doesn't have to be tied to obligation? His eyes narrowed, intrigue mingling with skepticism. It's a nice thought, but the world doesn't play like that. Reality is cruel. Aren't we the ones who make our own reality? Her voice steadied, a reminder to herself of the conviction that flickered like a candle deep within. He leaned back, arms crossed, scrutinizing her. And how do you plan to shift from mere survival to truly living? It was a question that reverberated through her. She had found herself in the dialogue revealing possibilities she dared not imagine before. The lingering shadows of doubt began to dissipate, replaced by nascent determination. I'm not sure, she admitted, her voice almost a whisper. But I want to discover what I've been missing. I want to dig deeper, not just into your story but into my own. As the words left her lips, clarity began to form. Her father's past and Richard's turmoil weren't just isolated experiences, they were intertwined in ways she had yet to grasp. Perhaps their secrets held the key to her own revival. Richard's gaze softened. You might find it's a journey that doesn't just reveal answers, but creates new questions. Are you ready for that? Her resolve solidified. I'd like to try. Just then, a flicker of movement caught her attention beyond the glass walls. Another gallery-goer had entered, but their presence felt jarringly out of place amid their deep exchange. This individual seemed oddly familiar, stirring memories that sent a jolt through her. Who were they, and what role did they play in this web of connections? Are we prepared for the complications that come next? She thought, heart racing for unknown reasons, as a new layer of uncertainty began to envelop her. Maybe, but the journey has just begun, Richard said, a knowing smile ghosting his lips, unaware of the truth she was about to uncover with that enigmatic figure's arrival. The space around her pulsated with expectation. What connections and revelations lay ahead? What new dimensions would emerge? The air grew heavy with potential as she felt the path shifting beneath her. Today marked an unanticipated turning point, but she sensed even greater revelations were on the horizon, a truth that could fracture her understanding of everything she believed. Amy's pulse quickened as she turned her gaze towards the newcomer, her instinct tightening with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The figure stood just beyond the threshold, peering intently at the paintings, but something about the stance, the tilt of the head, stirred an unsettling familiarity within her. It was a sensation she couldn't quite articulate, an echo of a part of her life she had carefully tucked away. Richard followed her gaze, the curious tension in the air shifting with a shared breath. Do you know them? He asked, brow furrowing as he glanced back at her. No, she replied, the word emerging as a faint whisper, but the truth bubbled underneath with a heightened urgency. The more she stared, the more she felt pulled to the figure, a magnetic connection drawing her forth even while the pit of her stomach tightened. Is everything all right? Richard's voice broke through her reverie, a hint of concern knitting his brow. I think I need to go speak to them, Amy said, surprising even herself with the clarity of her decision. The urge to act, to bridge the chasm of uncertainty between her and this mystery was overwhelming. As she moved toward the tall, slender figure, the world around her dimmed, Nothing else existed. The chaotic swirl of feelings unwound and refocused into a single question: who was this person? And what secrets bound them to her past? "Excuse me," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The figure turned, revealing deep-set eyes that glowed with recognition. Her breath hitched as a sense of déjà vu washed over her, as though she were standing before a living dream. "Amy?" the figure asked, the voice soft yet resonant. "Do I know you?" she managed, her heart racing as she struggled to make sense of the moment. "Maggie," the woman replied, a knowing smile crossing her lips. "From that winter retreat when your family rented the lakeside cabin? I remember how you used to bury yourself in the snow to escape the chaos around you." The memory struck Amy like a lightning bolt. Vivid flashes of laughing voices echoed in her mind. Her father's warm presence mingling with elemental joy, all wrapped in the snowy embrace of their shared retreat. She felt so alive then, unconcerned with the future that loomed ahead. "Maggie," she repeated, trying to tether herself within this kaleidoscope of past and present. "What are you doing here?" "I came to represent my father's work," Maggie said, gesturing towards a collection of artwork displayed earlier. "Lately, I've been focused on exhibitions. I didn't expect to see you again, let alone here." The pieces fell into place, but the questions multiplied. Maggie's casual confidence starkly contrasted with the uncertainty Amy had clung to for years. The contrast sent ripples of longing through her. Was it possible to regain that fierceness she had felt in her youth? Could this be the spark to ignite that lost girl again? As if reading her thoughts, Maggie regarded her intently. "You've changed, but I can see the fire remains. Are you pursuing that dream of yours?" Amy hesitated, her pulse quickening. It was a direct confrontation of everything she had buried in the depths of her being. The question hung between them, waiting, demanding an answer. The gallery felt smaller, the art around her vivid and accusatory. It demanded her reckoning. "I'm trying," Amy finally admitted, her voice trembling with newfound determination. "But I feel like I've only just begun to unravel it." Maggie's gaze softened. "Then let yourself explore it. Art is about expression. It's meant to challenge you, even uproot you. Don't shy away from the chaos like Richard does." Richard, not too far behind, stepped closer, sensing the emotional intensity at play. "Art isn't just chaos," he interrupted, eyes flaring with a protectiveness that caught Amy off guard. "It's a discipline, a commitment. You can't pursue it recklessly. Or maybe that's exactly how it should be pursued," Maggie shot back, meeting Richard's intensity head-on. "In the wildness lies the truth." Amy stood caught in the crossfire of their differing philosophies, both compelling yet fraught with personal implications. And then it clicked: this was a pivotal moment. A crossroads where two ideologies collided, where she had to choose. The air thickened with unsaid thoughts and the weight of choices yet to be made. Amy felt the push and pull of the familiar anguish warring within her. If she embraced one path, would it close off another? Did either perspective hold the key to her unearthing of self? Searching for clarity, Amy instinctively glanced back out toward the gallery. Outside, life thrived in every shade of color, a chaotic dance of motion she yearned to enter but feared she wasn't ready for. The intersection between her past with Maggie and the possibility of pursuing art felt delicate yet imperative. What if this is my moment? She wondered. A surge of adrenaline coursed through her, igniting her resolve. She wanted to confront the chaos. She was ready for the complexity of it all. But her thoughts were abruptly interrupted again by the gallery's outer world. The figure who had previously entered, now obscured by the throng gathering outside. That flicker of a memory stirred again, lighting anew embers of uncertainty inside her. Who else might entwine their fate with hers in this moment of choice? What would she uncover when she embraced the disarray? Caught in the web of these realizations, she inhaled deeply, the pressing urgency mounting. The journey was just beginning, but looming was a decision that could redefine her entire narrative. Would she dare to confront it now? As Amy stood at the intersection of her past and present, a sharp sense of urgency enveloped her. She could feel Richard's eyes on her, filled with a mix of concern and skepticism. And Maggie's fiery gaze beckoned her to step onto the path she had been avoiding for too long. The dim lighting of the gallery felt confining, as if the walls held back a world she longed to rejoin, the world of art. of creative expression that had once filled her with joy. What if I let go? The thought echoed softly in her mind. She hadn't realized how tightly she had grasped onto her fears until now, standing here with two vastly different perspectives clawing at her desire to move forward. Maggie broke the silence, her voice slicing through Amy's swirling thoughts. Why don't you come visit my studio tomorrow? You can meet some of the artists I work with. You'll see art isn't just about discipline, it's about finding your voice. A flicker of temptation sparked within Amy. The idea of stepping into a vibrant creative space ignited a pang of nostalgia for the freedom of self-expression she so desperately craved. Yet doubt crept in, weaving through her mind like a cautious shadow. But what if I don't belong there? She questioned inwardly, anchored by the memories of her failed attempts to navigate the art world alone. Richard's heavy breathing became increasingly audible, almost palpable in the air thick with tension. You don't need to explore that chaotic route. You have a stable career. Focus on what you know, he urged, his tone a stark reminder of the safe, predictable life she had built. No, Maggie said firmly, crossing her arms defiantly. Stability doesn't mean fulfillment, Richard. Sometimes we need to break free to find out who we truly are. Caught in the crossfire yet again, Amy could feel the re-emerging layers of her identity peeling back, ready to be rediscovered. She had cultivated a life that made sense, but it felt increasingly hollow. Could she integrate these disparate parts of herself? Was she ready to blend the diligent professional that Richard admired with the passionate artist Maggie seemed to embody? Amy, Richard interjected, stepping forward, his vulnerability seeping through. I don't want to see you chase an illusion. Art is unpredictable, and you have a solid life already. Don't jeopardize it. A shiver ran down her spine as Richard's concern wrapped around her like a safety net, but the weight of his words anchored her to a past she knew stifled her spirit. And what about my happiness? She fired back, her voice rising in determination. Isn't it worth the risk? Everyone fell silent, as those around her waited. She felt a transformative shift within the realization that her worth was not tethered to the expectations imposed by others, but deeply rooted in her own choices. The choice was hers to make a fork in the road marked by the burden of fear, and the promise of exhilarating revelation. Maggie, she whispered, I want to come to your studio. The words poured from her lips like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds, clarity washing over her. Maggie's face erupted with a warm smile, a mixture of encouragement and understanding that ignited a fire in Amy's heart. Good. Let it be a starting point, not a final destination. Amy turned back to Richard, searching his gaze for something scrutiny, perhaps, or acceptance. I'll figure it out, she said, defiance blossoming alongside her urgency. This is my moment to confront everything I've held back. But fear still lurked, whispering doubts about her ability to embrace this new development. Could she muster the courage to fully immerse herself in this chaotic world of art? As the tension hung thick in the room, her chest tightened with both fear and the exhilarating thrill of possibility. Tomorrow at 10, Maggie confirmed eagerly. A sense of commitment formed, but it was her own hesitance that teased back, was it truly commitment, or a fleeting whim? And just as she absorbed the weight of her newfound decision, the door swung open, revealing the mysterious figure from earlier. This time, instead of just a specter of memory, he stood framed by the spotlight of curiosity. Was it fate he had returned, or simply coincidence? Who was this stranger, and what role would he play in her emerging narrative of self-discovery? Surrounded by the echoes of her past and facing the unknown, Amy felt the breath of chaos beckoning her forward. In that singular moment, she realized the journey to understand herself was only beginning, and it might just hinge on this new encounter. The figure in the doorway was cloaked in shadow, an ambiguous presence that instantly ignited both intrigue and apprehension in Amy. He bore an unusual air of confidence, a quiet intensity that felt jarring against the backdrop of her internal tumult. The gallery's dim lighting flickered slightly, as if echoing the uncertainty thrumming beneath her skin. What do you want? Amy asked, her voice steadier than she felt. I was hoping to meet the woman who dared to challenge the ordinary, he said, stepping into the room. Light caught on his features, revealing chiseled, handsome lines. I'm Max. His presence was magnetic, and surprisingly, It drew her attention away from Richard, whose disapproval stiffened by the second. Max, Amy repeated, her mind flickering with questions. Why are you here? The air strained with a pull to discover more. Every instinct urged her to peel away the layers of anonymity surrounding him. I overheard your conversation, he replied, his gaze now fixated on her. A flicker of something admiration, perhaps, shone in his eyes. You have a spark. Don't suppress it. It's rare to find someone ready to break free. She felt a flicker of validation in his words. Yet skepticism wedged its way back into the folds of her mind. Richard shifted restlessly beside her, his discontent unmistakable. You don't even know what you're talking about, he interjected, his concern a thin veil over rising defensiveness. Max turned to meet Richard's gaze. I didn't mean to intrude. Just wanted to share a thought that struck me. Maybe she needs someone who understands the struggle between security and passion. The mention of struggle resonated with Amy, amplifying the quiet turmoil brewing inside her. This was not merely about art, this was a challenge to her very essence. A question of identity she had long ignored. What do you know about my struggles? She countered, her heart racing. More than you think, Max replied, his voice steady. I've walked that path myself. Left a corporate job to pursue music. Everyone said I was crazy, but it was authentic. His sincerity struck a chord within Amy, and for a split second, she wondered if perhaps this stranger could guide her through the chaos she feared. Music? She echoed, grappling with the urge to connect, to explore the depths of this unexpected intersection in her life. The vulnerability he exuded held a mirror to her own fears. What if she discovered talent she never acknowledged? What if she was, indeed, more capable than she believed? Yet beneath that yearning hovered Richard's increasingly tense figure, a living reminder of her responsibilities and the stability she had built. Maybe you don't need to chase illusions, he murmured, a hint of desperation weaving through his tone. Ignoring his words, Amy stepped closer to Max, compelled by curiosity. How did you find the courage to take that leap? Did he have the answers she craved? It wasn't courage, he replied softly, but a decisive moment when everything aligned. I realized that without risk, I was suffocating. And that realization was liberating. His words resonated with a depth Amy had craved for years. Just as she braced herself to respond, Maggie interrupted, her voice resolute. You should listen to him, Amy. Sometimes it takes a stranger to remind us who we are. As the room pulsed with energy, the tension between Richard's fear and Maggie's encouragement, Amy felt the weight of expectation shifting. Could this encounter change everything? A path not yet taken unfolded like an uncharted territory. What if she embraced this invitation to explore the artistic life that once thrilled her? Perhaps this was not just about making art. It was about redefining her entire perspective. Tomorrow, she would step into Maggie's world, but tonight was different, charged with profound possibilities sparked by Max's presence. Maybe I'll see you after my visit to the studio, she said, her voice firming. The decision took shape in her heart, one step at a time. She would confront the layers of herself that had long been buried. She felt emboldened by this chance encounter. Yet the battle within her was far from over. As Richard shot her a warning glance, Max simply smiled, as if he understood the turmoil that lay ahead in her path to self-discovery. Would she boldly embrace the unknown and keep Max southwards close? Or would she hesitate, swayed by the safe confines of the life she'd always known? This was just the beginning. And perhaps the real adventure awaited just around the corner, lurking in the shadows. Would she continue unfolding the complexities of her ambitions, or retreat back into the familiar comfort of her previous existence? The day dawned with a mix of excitement and dread as Amy stepped into Maggie's studio, the air electric with new potential. Her heart raced not just from the anticipation of exploring art again, but also from the lingering weight of her conversation with Max. Every thought was a push and pull between her established life and the prospect of liberation. The studio was a space of chaos and color, canvases sprawling against walls with varying degrees of completion, each piece a testament to creativity unfettered. The smell of paint hung thick, weaving through her senses as she took it all in. She had been so rooted in practicality that the sight of such uninhibited creativity felt foreign, yet familiar, stirring something deep within her. Maggie welcomed her with open arms, her enthusiasm an instant bomb. "I'm so glad you're here. Today is about experimentation. No expectations, just create." The words washed over Amy, igniting a dormant fire. No expectations. That notion was both liberating and terrifying. They began with simple exercises, each designed to unearth the artist buried beneath the years of adhering to norms. As they painted, Amy felt the hesitation slip away with each stroke of the brush. The tension of Richard's warning and the fear of failure faded, replaced by a focus so intense that time felt suspended. Each splash of color was a whisper of freedom. But the conversation with Max threaded through her mind, like an echo reverberating off the walls. How had he found his authenticity? While she painted, she questioned her own motives. Had she suffocated her creativity under layers of expectation and fear? The more she allowed herself to truly express, the more she understood that her artistic aspirations were an extension of her identity, not merely a pastime she had suppressed. As she moved from canvas to canvas, her vision began to clear. Every piece flowed with a newfound confidence, the chaos around her transforming into mesmerizing beauty. Inspiration coursed through her veins as she realized art wasn't just an escape. It nurtured parts of her she had long neglected. After a few hours, Maggie surveyed her work and grinned. "You have something special, Amy. This feels authentic, raw. You should think about showcasing it." The comment sent a thrill through Amy, but it also drew the specter of doubt closer, whispering of the risks of exposure. The thought of unveiling her true self was both exhilarating and petrifying. "Showcase?" she repeated, each syllable heavy with a mix of hope and fear. Could she really step into the world as an artist? The idea was daunting, yet incredibly tempting. In her heart, she felt the tug of desire to share her vision with others, to embrace and reclaim her identity. Yet Richard's voice bubbled back to the surface. "It's just art. It's not that important," he said, dismissing the significance of her passion. "Are you all right?" Maggie's voice drew her back, concern flickering in her eyes. "You seem distant." "I'm just processing everything," Amy replied, clearing her throat. The battle inside her raged. Could she navigate the journey of an artist, or would she remain confined to her safe existence? "Take your time," Maggie said, "but don't underestimate what you can offer the world. You have a voice and it matters." In that moment, all the encouragement surrounding her felt like a push toward self-realization. Perhaps showcasing her art wouldn't just be a leap of faith. It might bind the pieces of her identity together. But as exhilarating as that notion was, it prompted a new layer of conflict. What if she resigned herself to failure? What if she embraced success only to be ungraspable, lost amid the layers of her ambition? The thought terrified her. Yet in that moment of vulnerability, she recognized that every artist faced a similar peril. It was the proving ground of authenticity itself. As the paint dried, a bold decision took shape in her mind. "Maybe I should try to showcase my work," she whispered, testing the waters, her heart pounding. Maggie's eyes widened with unmasked excitement. "Yes. I'll help you. We can organize something." Before she could finish, Amy's phone chimed, a message lighting the screen. It was from Max, asking how her day was going. Her heart fluttered, thoughts cascading. Could she share her budding ambitions with him? Would he become an ally in her transformation? The exploration she longed for was tied to the promise of connection, but sharing that with Max carried its own weight of vulnerability. Would opening up further propel her forward, or create shackles of expectation? With her pulse racing and uncertainty swirling, she knew she stood on a precipice. As she prepared to respond, a flicker of determination ignited within her. This was the moment she had sought, where all paths converged. Would she step forward with the faith to embrace her true self? Or would the pressure of her past keep her bound? As she began to type, knowing she had one more decision to make, the future of her artistic journey hung in the balance. The moment hung in the air like the smell of fresh paint, thick with possibility. Amy's fingers hovered over her phone screen, her mind racing through the implications of sharing her aspirations with Max. Could he be the catalyst to unleash the artist within her? Or would he become another voice questioning her worth? Each tick of the clock intensified her resolve. Settling into a brief moment of clarity, She responded to Max's text, her heart thumping with a thrilling yet terrifying hope. I'm about to embark on something big. I think I'm finally going to showcase my art, she typed, then paused before sending. This invocation of her creative identity felt monumental, almost tangible. When she hit send, an exhilarating wave washed over her, almost drowning out the noise of doubt. But no sooner had she sent the message than an avalanche of anxiety slid in. How would he react? Would he see this as frivolous, or worse, as a sign of desperation? Yet, beneath her backdrop of fear was an unmistakable voice offering a radical new narrative. What if this was the beginning? Maggie cleared the space they occupied, her arms bursting with a vibrant canvas. Let us keep going, she said, her eyes sparkling with inspiration. The studio transformed into a haven of intensity as colors collided on canvas, the hammer of creativity forging a new version of herself from the scrap metal of insecurity. Amy's hands moved deftly, brush strokes reflecting not just thoughts but a burgeoning affirmation of her identity. Each splash of paint revealed layers of emotion, wounds, and aspirations expressed in vibrant, audacious forms. As she painted, questions emerged, tinged with both intrigue and terror. Why had she delayed this part of herself for so long? The realization struck her she placed herself in a cage, one built of other people's expectations. Art demanded raw honesty, and in response, her heart ached for authenticity. With every session in the studio, the boundaries of her past began to disintegrate, exposing a renaissance of her spirit. But the fear never truly dissipated. What will Richard think? A voice whispered from deep within. Richard, the steady anchor of her practical life, represented a life fully formed yet void of the passion she craved. The thought of stepping away from that stability was like a plunge into cold water, a shock that could either terrify or exhilarate. I can't let fear dictate my actions, she murmured silently, challenging the inner voice. Her brush continued its dance, each stroke a methodical rebellion against the weight of doubt. Hours melted away in the studio, consumed by the visceral act of creation. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, a new piece emerged, a riot of color that encapsulated her internal battle. This canvas mirrored her journey. Chaos meeting beauty, frailty finding strength. It was raw and unrefined, yet undeniably hers. Just as she finished, her phone buzzed again. Max's reply slashed through the silence. That's incredible. We should talk, your art matters. Heart racing. She felt a surge of affirmation. The budding hope blossomed into a vibrant lifeline that begged her to seize the opportunity. But with eagerness came trepidation. The road ahead was uncertain and cluttered with the possibility of vulnerability. Taking a deep breath, she typed back, "Can we meet tomorrow? I'd love to share more." As she sent the message, a shiver of anticipation coursed through her. Would he truly understand the artistic battles she faced? Maggie reappeared, her arms full of brushes and supplies. Are you ready to think about a showcase? The more you expose yourself, the more others will connect with your work. Amy nodded, her stomach twisting, overwhelmed yet alive with the possibility of what lay ahead. The prospect of sharing her heart, a raw, unguarded offering, felt like a chasm between the present safety and an unknown future. What's the next step? She asked, surprising herself with the confidence in her voice. Maggie's eyes sparkled, awareness gleaming. The time has come to face your fears, Amy. Let us get to work. As the evening deepened, she realized this was not merely about art. It was about meeting the challenges that defined her very essence. The moment of truth approached, where doubt would clash with the will to be seen. What awaited beyond this transformational threshold? Would she confront her own shadows or allow fear to flourish unchecked? Holding on to her brush, she sensed she was on the verge of something profound. The confrontation of her deepest vulnerabilities awaited her reveal. The morning sun had hardly begun to paint the sky when Amy ventured into the studio. The air was still cool, brimming with anticipation, a reminder of the promise she had made to herself the previous night. Today was the day she would confront her vulnerabilities, beginning with her meeting with Max. This was more than just sharing her artwork, it was about owning her narrative and shedding years of doubt. Standing in front of the easel, Amy observed the canvas before her. It was an unfinished piece, a reflection of her inner turmoil, and it felt both familiar and foreign. She picked up her palette, intuitively mixing colors, allowing her emotions to dictate the shades, the fiery reds representing her anger at suppressed creativity and calm blues encapsulating her desire for peace. This was the first time she felt like the artist she always aspired to be, and with this realization came a renewed confidence. But then the quiet of the studio shattered. Her phone vibrated, a stark reminder that life outside this sanctuary continued, and the message from Max brought a rush of electricity. "Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Let us meet at 11? Suddenly, the playful colors she admired would have to compete with the chaos of uncertainty swirling in her chest. As the minutes ticked closer to their meeting, Amy's thoughts spiraled. Would he really understand her art? Max was an established figure in the artistic community, with exquisite taste and discerning eyes. What if he merely saw her work as amateurish scribbles? Fear wrapped around her mind like a vine, tightening with every passing second. This self-doubt was a climate she had known too well, one she was determined to break. In the moments leading up to her departure, Amy's heart raced not with excitement, but panic at the thought of sharing her true self. Dressing carefully, she chose a simple outfit that allowed her to feel comfortable yet confident. This choice was small but intentional, designed to project the message: I am here, and I deserve to be taken seriously. Walking to the cafe where they had agreed to meet, the familiar streets felt both suffocating and exhilarating. Each step was a reminder of how far she had come. Once too timid to express her thoughts openly, now she fought against the undertow of uncertainty, moving forward despite her fears. As she entered the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped her, grounding her momentarily. She spotted Max at a corner table, his smile radiant. "There you are. I've been looking forward to this," he said, gesturing to the space beside him. With a deep breath, she sat down, feeling both weighed down and lifted by the dialogue that loomed ahead. Their conversation flowed with surprising ease, but as she began to discuss her art, Amy felt a rush of vulnerability wash over her. Each word a step deeper into her psyche. "I've been working on a few pieces," she stammered, her voice quivering slightly. "They feel personal." Max leaned in, his interest piqued. "I want to see them. Art that reflects your truth is powerful." In response to his encouragement, Amy found herself reflecting on her journey. "It's hard to show myself when there are so many voices telling me what I should be. I want to break free from that." As she spoke, the walls she had constructed started to feel less daunting. The more she shared her thoughts, the more she discovered clarity within herself. Her confidence began to swell, filling the spaces once occupied by fear. However, she caught herself holding back. A piece of her still hesitated at the edge of disclosing her deepest feelings. What if he perceived her work as too raw? Max's expression shifted as if he sensed her unease. "You deserve to be authentic. That's where the magic is." As she met his gaze, a flicker of understanding passed between them. It was more than a professional connection. There was a bond forming rooted in shared passion and unspoken encouragement. It was then Amy realized that perhaps she had been holding on to fear tightly, reasoning that it protected her when all it did was suffocate her art. As their meeting continued, a mixture of empowerment and vulnerability coursed through her. They engaged in a dynamic exchange of ideas, her plans, his advice, creating a beautiful tapestry of possibility that compelled her to think beyond mere survival in the art world. Just as Amy began to articulate a vision for a potential showcase of her work, a sudden thought struck her like a tidal wave. What if revealing her art meant bearing her soul in ways she hadn't anticipated? Max's next words hung in the air, tantalizingly ambiguous. "Sometimes the most extraordinary revelations come from the depths of our greatest fears." Inspired but unsettled, Amy's heart raced at the thought. What truths lay beneath her surface that she had yet to confront? Each realization brought her closer to a crescendo. Could she unearth them without losing herself? The road ahead was strewn with both potential for growth and the shadow of her insecurities. One question pulsed through her mind as they wrapped up their meeting. Would she be brave enough to uncover the hidden depths of her creativity? Or would she retreat once more into the comfortable confines of her past? In that moment, Amy felt the weight of her choices resting on her shoulders, signaling that this was just the beginning of her real journey, a journey that would demand even more courage than she had summoned. Days turned into weeks, each moment a precise measure of growth measured against the fear of falling back into old patterns. Amy's time in the studio under Maggie's guidance ignited flames of inspiration within her, transforming into tangible work that reflected who she was becoming. The more she painted, the more she understood her art wasn't merely an expression. It was a revelation of spirit, a vibrant dialogue between her past fears and future aspirations. At last, the time had come for her first showcase. The gallery was filled with her canvases, pieces layered with color, emotion, and the authenticity she had worked so hard to reclaim. As she stood at the entrance, she felt the pulse of her heart in tandem with the buzz of excitement surrounding her. The gallery itself throbbed with energy, voices filled the air, and the dim lighting set an intimate tone, promising deep connections. But the nervous knot in her stomach reminded her of the hesitation she had long wrestled with. Doubt crept in, whispering that she would be seen not as an artist, but merely as an imposter trying to occupy a space that felt too grand for her stature. Yet, as she glanced at her showcasing pieces, she confronted a realization: these artworks were the essence of her journey. This moment was not just about external validation, it was proof of her transformation. Richard had attended, standing off to the side, an expression of forced pride on his face that contrasted sharply with the comfort and warmth radiating from her work. The uneasiness between them felt palpable. "This is just a hobby, Amy," he had expressed during their pre-show discussions, his words lingering in the corners of her mind. Yet here, in this space, she felt empowered to challenge that narrative. "Welcome. Please enjoy." She greeted the attendees, her voice steadier than she anticipated. As people began to move through the gallery, admiration shining in their eyes as they engaged with her work, a rush of exhilaration coursed through her. Subtle nods of approval and murmurs of appreciation whispered through the air, creating a web of connection that anchored her in the present. Max arrived, his energy infectious and supportive. "You've created something beautiful here," he said genuinely, presenting a bouquet of flowers that somehow felt like a celebration of more than just her art. It was an honor of her courage to reclaim who she had been all along. With each conversation, each engagement, she solidified her place not just as a participant, but as a leader in her own narrative. As she shared the stories behind her pieces, the influences of her father, the connection with Richard, and the journey of personal discovery that had led her here, the confidence she felt further enveloped her spirit like a warm embrace. She was actively rewriting her story, refusing to let her past define her future. Toward the end of the evening, she noticed a small group of local artists gathered near her favorite piece, the one she had dubbed Emergence. The vibrant chaos of color symbolized her turbulent yet transformative journey. As they pointed and discussed, a wave of contentment washed over her. She saw pieces of herself reflected in their discussions. She had truly conquered fear. Her art resonated beyond her own self, creating dialogues that she never imagined could stem from her authenticity. With every person she connected with, Amy began to feel a newfound sense of belonging swell within her, an appreciation for her art that transcended external expectations. She relished the compliments and engaged in deeper conversations about the creative process with clarity and passion. "Your work captivates," one young artist remarked. "It challenges me to look within myself." The word struck a chord, signaling the profound ripple effect her art was destined to make. Finally, recognition began aligning with her labor. It was affirmation of her journey, an indication that the risk of exposing herself was worth every internal struggle. And as the event wound down, Richard approached, this time with a slightly softer demeanor. "I was wrong, Amy. You found something real here," he said, extending a compliment that appeared half-formed, as if it wrestled with the very admission he struggled to convey. The apprehension within him seemed to dissipate in the face of her triumph, recognition grappling with acceptance. She smiled, warmth racing through her. "Thank you for being here, Richard. I've found that this isn't just about art. It's about realizing I have the power to define myself on my own terms." The words felt liberating as they lingered in the air, suspending her in a moment of clarity, validating her courage and growth. Her past with Richard, strained, layered, and complex, became a part of her narrative, propelling her forward with resolve. As the evening ended and the gallery emptied, the recognition was more profound than she had ever anticipated. This was not simply a showcase. It was a celebration of her transformation, her new identity as an artist choosing to embrace all facets of herself. She had shifted from merely surviving to living, flourishing in her own truth. A once suppressed dream blossom into vibrant reality. Reveling in the completeness of this moment, Amy felt solidified in her new trajectory, knowing that this was just the beginning. She had established a connection with her innermost aspirations, and now, standing in the midst of her success, she felt invincible. Tomorrow will bring another opportunity, she mused. The significance of that thought fluttered like a melodic echo, a promise of curiosity and growth. Because now, amongst swirling colors and the laughter of new friends made, she discovered that her journey was as much about putting her heart on the canvas as it was about remaining true to who she was. Her accomplishments weren't merely seen. They vibrated with authenticity. And in that moment, she realized she was exactly where she was meant to be, at the forefront of her own remarkable story. So if you've resonated with Amy's transformative journey, you need to make a move. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm that champions personal triumph. Comment below your reactions and theories about Amy's powerful transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.